Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It is about 6:50 here on Sunday night, Eastern Time, and the time has changed. And boy, we lost that hour of sleep. Don't we wish we could have it back? Guess we'll get it back later in the fall, but unfortunately, we deal with those consequences. We've had a nice day though overall, and mostly sunny skies out there, but we didn't quite make it to the 50 that I had predicted, but upper 40s. Certainly that's a lot better than where we have been, but we are tracking another system that could bring a little bit of nasty weather to us on Wednesday. But after that, it still looks like we've got a pretty decent forecast for you. We'll talk about that here in a second. Today's video update is being sponsored by Metal Magic. You can give Chad a call at 698-8555. They do paintless dent repair. They've got a traveling hail team. They do custom detailing and chrome accessories. Folks, severe weather season is coming. It doesn't feel like it's coming right now with the cool weather we've had, but surely but slowly, folks, I can promise you, severe weather season is coming, and you will need, at some point in your life, some hail damage repair. So keep Metal Magic in your back of your mind and tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you, all right? And then we're also sponsored today by High Voltage Mobile DJ Service. You can contact Nathan at 630-9465 or visit him on the web at djhighvoltage.com for all your mobile DJ needs, outdoor stage, light shows, and so much more. Any type of music that you can think of, folks. Tell them Southern Indiana Weather sent you. All right, you can see this little disturbance moving in up here off the coast. This is our system that's going to move down on Wednesday. Pretty much what's going to happen is, let me just illustrate this for you. It's going to sort of dive down this way. As it does, a low pressure is going to form, and then it's going to sort of track our way, and then eventually it's going to track up the East Coast and become a pretty big snowstorm for them. In fact, there may be some pretty significant snowfall accumulations up here for us, but for us here in the Ohio Valley, it's not looking like much of anything right now. It's looking like pretty much a dusting at best. Let me show that to you by future radar, all right? Put this into motion here for you. NAM future radar. Again, we get some pretty warm temperatures on Tuesday, and even on Wednesday we start to fall, but road temperatures will certainly be enough to keep snow from sticking on the roads the way it looks right now. You can see some fairly heavy rain moving in during the overnight hours on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning while we're asleep. According to this, we get a lull in the action, and then a little later on, you get this nasty blue stuff coming over you again. You're very familiar with that, I'm sure. That's the snow. Again, the snow looks very light for us as we go throughout this. Let me just take you through a few of the models to give you the ideas of what's going on. Let's take you through the Euro model first, because this is the one that's been the most consistent throughout this. And again, we start off with about 1,000 millibar low out here. Quickly moves to 997, 993, tracks right along the Ohio River. Very strong deepening low up to 988 as it moves over here. That's enough certainly to suck the cold air in and give us a little bit of snow on the backside of the system. By looking at this, you would naturally think, oh, well, that's definitely going to be some decent accumulations. The problem there is, if you were to take a look at the temperature profile, we don't cool below freezing until later in that afternoon when most of the snow would be gone. So it may be one of these setups where we see some very pretty snow falling and not sticking to much of anything, or maybe just some of the grassy surfaces. Road temperatures are, in really decent shape. In fact, we're going to have a couple of days where we push 70 degrees. So road temperatures, I don't think are going to be a problem at all. This is just probably going to be a slushy mess on the roads if we see any snow at all to speak of. All right. Show you a couple of the other models. The NAM is in a very similar agreement. It starts it off as about 1,000 low back here, takes it to 998, and as you move across, it takes it a little bit north of the Ohio River, which would put those of us closer to the Ohio River even further into that zone. And then it deepens it, so again, the blue lines come over us, a little bit of snow on the backside of the system. GFS, what we're looking at here is a precipitation type map. It's not as strong of a low. It's 1,000 millibars tracking right along the Ohio River in about the same fashion as what the Euro takes it. It starts to deepen it up a little bit, but it doesn't give us much in the way of snow, just a little bit of flurry activity on the back side of the system. And just for good measure, the Canadian, again, now what I want you to see is that it doesn't rapidly deepen the low. It does deepen it, but not until it gets way out of our area. It does suck that cold air in. And again, it would look like, oh, that could be some decent accumulations, except for the temperatures are going to catch up with what could be the snow. And they are not there. Let's take a look at the snow maps, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Here's what the GFS says as far as snow, and you can see a dusting at best for us in southern Indiana, and you don't really get into the 1 and 2 and plus inch categories until you get up to northern Indiana. The Canadian says snow? What are you talking about? I mean, it's just it keeps us too warm with our temperature profiles. It may be one of those things where some snow falls out of the sky, but we don't really see any snow as a result of it. We can take a look at the euro. Again, the euro is the most aggressive on us. Gives us maybe a half to up to an inch or so of accumulation up here around the Vincennes area. And really, the main snows stay to the north of us. You get 2 inches and above once you start to go above Bloomington and the Columbus area, Terre Haute area, all the way from a 6 to 9 inch swath as you go up into portions here of central Indiana. Whether that happens or not, the other models aren't saying quite that aggressive. As you can see, the Canadian says what snow for northern Indiana. GFS gives a decent little snow there. And if we take a look at the NAM does give decent snow, but it confines it even further north. And the NAM down here for us is snow. What snow? Again, dusting at best for us. What we can say right now is this does look like pretty much just a very minor event. Think it's going to be the majority of it going to be rain, and then it's going to be a matter of, as temperatures fall throughout the day on Wednesday and we start to transition over that to the snow, how much of that can realistically stick. There may be a decent amount that falls from the sky, and it may be not much of it that ends up sticking. That's the way it's starting to look to me at this point. If I take a look at temperature profiles, let me just pull what the GFS says. Here, by the time we get into Tuesday evening at about 8 p.m., we're still sitting in the upper 50s by that time, and you see very quickly, by the time Wednesday morning comes in, we're still above freezing here over the southern portions of Indiana. We don't go near freezing until, we're still in the mid-30s here, over at least part of us on Wednesday afternoon, and all of us don't go below freezing until late that night. So again, with the GFS, that's why you get very minimal amounts of snow. If we take a look at the Euro model, it's a very similar idea. Here we are about 2 in the morning, and you're still mid to upper 40s all the way up to near 60 down in the Evansville area. And as you go throughout this, the temperatures start to rapidly fall. Here's 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning, but it's not going to be until Wednesday afternoon and evening before you start to see that again. So again, the idea is there that we could see some accumulation potentially, but only sticking after those temperatures have fallen appropriately, and it looks like that's really going to be the limiting factor in this. All right, now let's talk about what's going on beyond this system. All right, let me go ahead and put the GFS into motion here for you and point out a few things. Here's our snow feature / rain feature, wintry mix, whatever you want to call it, for Wednesday. Going beyond that system as we move out, we've got a pretty decent week shaping up for you. A disturbance moves to our north here, stays well into Canada though, but you got this next little system moving in by Saturday night into Sunday, which could bring us a little bit of rain. The latest GFS wants to bring us a little bit of snow potentially with this. I'm not buying that at this point. I think the temperatures are going to be way too warm for it to be rain. We're at this time of the year where if we're right on the fence of that 540 line, the temperatures could go sort of either way, whether it's above freezing or below freezing. When you get to that first blue line, what we call that 540 line, we call it the rain snow changeover line. Well, that works in the wintertime, but the more you get in towards springtime, you're really going to have to be below that blue line to start to see any snow stick and accumulate. And whenever you're right around that blue line, you're pretty much on the edge. This time of the year when you're on the edge, that doesn't work in your favor to get snow. And of course that's good because I think we've had 35, 36 different snowfalls over the past year. And by the way, that's not significant snowfalls. I'm counting anything from a flurry or more that falls from the sky. That's a lot compared to what we've seen in previous years. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of snow. I'd just rather see us all rain on Wednesday personally. But it does look like we could end up with a little bit of snow. I'm very skeptical, though, about this system on Sunday. You'll see it in my 7-day breakdown here in just a little bit, that I don't think we're going to end up with snow. I think it's going to be a little bit too warm. But then as you put this into motion, you get another system that could potentially move in by the 19th, and you see the GFS takes us as pretty cold for us. Cold for this. I'm not buying this yet. I don't have the ensembles pulled up here, but the other version of the GFS, which is the ensembles. An ensemble model, by the way, basically is just it changes the initial conditions that the model starts with just by a fraction of something, just to change those initial conditions, because a lot of those initial conditions, we only put so much real data in, and then we have to estimate to fill in the gaps. All right, because we estimate to fill in the gaps. That's why models are not perfect. All right, so with ensembles, we're changing those gaps up just a little bit and then rerunning the model and then getting a different solution than what we would have got otherwise. In fact, with the GFS ensembles, you're doing that dozens and dozens of times, and what you do is then you come up with an ensemble mean. Out of that, the idea is that it hopes to help clear up error. The ensembles do not see snow for this period, so that helps me to see, no, I'm not completely buying what the operational run of the GFS is saying with this. We'll see. When we take a look at the temperature profile from the ensembles here in a second, you'll see exactly what I mean. But I'm showing you this to show you that we still get an active period. Here we are by the 25th, and we could have another storm potentially to deal with that could bring some heavy rain. Again, that first blue line starts to come down towards us. Could that be snow? Probably not this time of the year. Probably going to have to be 2 or 3 blue lines deep to be able to get snow. It looks more like a rain threat for us. So a very active pattern continuing to shape up is basically the gist of what I would want you to see. Here is what the GFS ensemble says as far as temperature wise, and let me just show you this. Bear in mind that our normal high temperature is 56 degrees. All right, let me just illustrate that for you. 56 degrees and about 34 degrees for our normal low. So here's a pretty normal day. Here's a few above normal days, and here's a pretty normal days. But take a look at by and large the rest of this, and by and large on the rest of this, what you see is fairly well below normal days. Some days may be as much as 10 degrees below normal. It may only be 5 or 6 degrees or even a couple of degrees below normal, but that's still below normal, not above normal. Climate Prediction Center has taken us all the way through March 23rd and says the whole eastern half of the country, even the whole northern portion up here, stays below normal. Again, the only ones out are above normal are the ones that are suffering with the major drought and heat wave out west. And it looks like there's no relief in sight as far as this. So essentially what this map communicates to you, let me just sort of illustrate what this communicates to you. Let me just type it out for you. No early spring. That's essentially what this is communicating to me. Now, I wish I could tell you that it was something different, but unfortunately, no early spring is what we're seeing at this point. In fact, there are hints in our longer range climate models that yes, we do moderate back up to the 50s, but that's actually going to reload the colder air, and there could be a cold snap come in at the beginning of April. Now, it probably wouldn't be 10s and 20s by this particular portion in time, but we could go down into the 30s again. And that's certainly a cold snap for April, so we'll keep an eye on that. The longer range models are really hinting at that. So hopefully it won't happen, but keep that in mind because this is the time of the year where we're starting to get spring fever. I was at Walmart this afternoon doing some grocery shopping with my family, and I noticed they were already getting the garden center and the potting soil out, and I was already plotting through my mind about the begonias that I need to start planting and what I need to do to my landscaping because I love doing that type of stuff, and I love getting my flowers out early. But unfortunately, this may not be a year to do that. So let me just give you that piece of advice. I'm not going to be putting my begonias out this early. Otherwise, you're just going to have to start taking them in a bunch of nights because it does look like we're going to get some cooler weather. And again, as you see with the ensembles, with the temperatures, there are still, even with the temperatures here, we sink down below freezing a lot of these days. So unfortunately, it does look like we stay below normal, and we'll just have to deal with it. The good news is, though, we're warming up continually, and even the below normal, well, you know what, if we're 46 degrees for below normal, that's well above compared to where we were, so there's always a bright side to it. And I suppose if you really want a bright side to it, I'm not one that really likes to mow my lawn, so that'll be delayed. I guess the glass is always half full. It depends on how you look at it. There's always a positive side. That may not make landscaping companies happy, and if you own one, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like mowing season is going to start anytime soon. Sadly, I wish it would. But no early spring from the way things are looking right now. All right, let's talk about your 7-day outlook. Folks, we can go to southern-indiana-weather.com. You can click on your 7-day forecast up here. You can get your Eubelor and Sons 7-day outlook. A couple of absolutely gorgeous days shaping up. 64 for a high tomorrow, mostly sunny, much warmer and breezy. Rain moves in really on Tuesday night. I think Tuesday during the day is going to be a partly cloudy day, so it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Temperatures flirting near 70 degrees. That's going to be great. And look at the lows, only down to 45 and 40, so we're above normal on both sides of the lows. We will take that. The real problem then starts on Wednesday. Cloudy with that rain likely early, but it should change to some snow Wednesday afternoon and evening. Again, what I'm saying at this point, I'm not putting an amount of snow on there yet, but minor accumulations are possible. 43 degrees, and that'll be pretty early in the morning as we start to see temperatures fall throughout the day. Going down to about 25 that night, but again, we're not going to have a fairly significant snowfall like northern Indiana and other portions of the Northeast will see. So without that heavy snowpack, we're not going to be able to stay temperatures cold for a few days. We'll rebound all the way up to 42 on Thursday, and then 58 on Friday, 58 on Saturday. Only 50 degrees next Sunday, but rain likely. And again, here's what I mean in my forecast. I'm only taking us down to 37 for a low. I'm kind of siding more with the Euro on this than I am with the GFS, and I don't think that we're going to get cold enough to go to snow, so I've not put a wintry mix in there just yet. I'll keep an eye on it and see whether that happens. I'm not going to rule out a wintry mix, or I won't even rule out an accumulating snowfall sometime still the rest of this month from the way the models are indicating that the potential is there. But again, as I said, it's going to get harder and harder harder. I don't see it at this point. But the way this funky year has been, we won't rule anything out. All right, folks, that is it for today's video. We'll have another one of these for tomorrow. For Southern Indiana Weather, I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great day, folks.